At 81, I've learned a lot about life. I've seen a lot, done a lot, and, like everyone, I've made my share of mistakes. But there is one decision, just one, that I would take back if I could. And it's a decision many of you might be thinking about right now, for yourself or for someone you love. It's the decision to move into a nursing home. When I made that choice, it seemed like the right thing to do. My family encouraged it. They said I'd be safe, that I'd have comfort and care, and that it would make life easier for everyone. I believed them. But once I got here, I realized the reality was nothing like what I had imagined. And now I want to share 6 things, 6 brutal, honest truths I wish someone had told me before I took this step. Because life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It changes everything. And once you go in, getting out isn't as simple as you think. Stay with me until the end, because some of these lessons might surprise you. And if you know someone considering this life-changing decision, this video might be exactly what they need to hear. Regret number 1. Losing my independence. I remember my first week here. The biggest shock wasn't the small room or the unfamiliar faces. It was the sudden, jarring realization that I had lost control over my own life. At home, I had my routines. I decided when to wake up, when to eat, and how to spend my day. I could take a walk whenever I wanted, cook my own meals, or just sit quietly in my favorite chair with a book. But inside here, my time was no longer my own. Everything runs on a schedule that isn't mine. Breakfast is at a set time, even if you're not hungry. Lights out happens at a certain hour, whether you're ready for bed or not. Want to take a walk outside? You might need permission, and you'll probably have to wait until someone is available to help you. Simple decisions, what to eat, even what to wear, started feeling like privileges instead of basic choices. I remember waking up that first week. I reached for the book that I had been reading at home, but when I looked around, it hit me. This wasn't my home. My books, my favorite chair, the little comforts I had spent years collecting, they were gone. In their place were sterile walls, a bed I didn't choose, and a feeling I couldn't shake. I was no longer in charge. And the hardest part? Realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back is almost impossible. You adapt because you have to. You stop arguing about what's for dinner. You stop asking to go for a walk whenever you want. You learn to fit into their system. But in the process, you start losing yourself. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this. Are you truly ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever thought possible. Regret number 2. Feeling forgotten. This is one of the hardest truths to face. The world outside keeps moving without you. When I first arrived, my family assured me they would visit often. And they did in the beginning. My daughter came once a week. My grandchildren visited on weekends. For a little while, I felt connected to my old life. But as the months went by, the visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming. My grandchildren got busy with school and work. Holidays were the hardest. Everyone promised they'd come, but somehow plans always changed at the last minute. Suddenly, I found myself sitting alone in a common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. It wasn't that my family stopped loving me, just life got in the way. When you're not around every day, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting. But the truth is, the longer you're here, the easier it is for people to forget how much you still need them. I remember one evening, sitting in my room, holding my phone. I was debating whether to call my son. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to remind him that I was here, waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This was my life now. Watching the days go by, hoping someone would remember to include me. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself this. Are you prepared for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, it's easier than you think to become out of mind. Regret number 3, losing my sense of purpose. I thought I was just changing where I lived. I didn't realize I was also changing why I lived. At home, I had responsibilities. I had routines, hobbies, and a reason to get up in the morning. Even the small things, watering the plants, making my own coffee, tidying up my space, gave me a sense of purpose. But in the nursing home, those daily rituals disappeared. Meals were made for me, cleaning was done by someone else, and the plants, well, they weren't mine to take care of anymore. At first, I told myself it would be nice to finally relax. No more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest. But after a few weeks, I realized something was missing. The days felt long, stretched out with nothing to do but wait. I saw it in other residents too. People who had once been full of energy now spent their days sitting, staring, waiting for time to pass. There was a man named George, an 83-year-old carpenter. At home, he was always fixing things, building little projects. But here, there were no tools, no projects, nothing for him to create. I watched him as he slowly withdrew. His hands, once strong and skilled, were now idle in his lap. He said, "I feel useless." And I knew exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for, something to work toward, life starts to lose its meaning. The mind slows down, the body follows, and soon you start to feel like just another resident in a place where time moves but nothing really changes. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because once you move in, finding purpose isn't as simple as filling your time. It's about fighting to hold on to the things that make you feel alive. Regret number 4, declining health faster than expected. Before I moved here, I was doing well for my age. I wasn't running marathons, but I could take care of myself, go for walks, and cook my own meals. I had my little routines that kept me moving, grocery shopping, stretching in the mornings, even just walking around the house. But once I moved in, everything changed. At first, it seemed like I was just taking it easy. Meals were brought to me, and if I needed something, I could just push a button. What I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much, and soon my legs felt stiffer. I sat more than I used to, and before I knew it, getting up from a chair started feeling like a chore. The muscles I had spent years maintaining were disappearing faster than I ever expected. And it wasn't just me. I saw it happen to others too. People who walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly relying on wheelchairs. People who had once been independent now needed help with things they never struggled with before. The more help we were given, the more we seemed to need it. I remember my neighbor, Alice. She was lively when she first arrived, insisting she wasn't going to slow down. But after a few months, she wasn't walking as much. Then she started using a walker, then a wheelchair. One day she looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly what it felt like. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. And in a nursing home where everything is designed to make things easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about surviving. If I had known how quickly I would lose my strength, I would have fought harder to keep moving, to stay active, to push myself even when I didn't feel like it. Regret number 5, the loss of privacy and dignity. This is something I didn't fully consider. At home, I had my own space. I could close my bedroom door, sit in silence, and do things on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy is a luxury you don't always get to keep. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being watched. Staff coming in and out, scheduled room checks, and shared spaces where you're rarely alone. Even simple things like getting dressed or using the bathroom often required someone's assistance. I know they're just doing their job, but it's not easy to accept help for things you've done independently your entire life. I remember my first week struggling with the idea that I had to ask for permission to do things I once did without thinking. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until someone is available. Need to use the restroom? Sometimes pressing the call button means waiting longer than you'd like. And then there was the issue of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room. Sharing a space with someone you didn't choose can be incredibly frustrating. I was lucky to have a kind roommate, but I heard stories from others who weren't so fortunate. And no matter how much you try to make your room feel like home, it's never truly yours. Dignity is a hard thing to lose, and I didn't realize how much of mine I'd have to surrender until I was already here. When people knock but don't always wait for an answer, when you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person, when your daily routines are dictated by a schedule you didn't create, it changes you. You start feeling less like yourself and more like just another name on a list. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you prepared to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, it's hard to get back. Regret number 6, realizing it's harder to leave than you think. This is the most crucial part, the one nobody tells you. When I first moved in, I told myself it was temporary. I thought I'd give it a try, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave. But what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. Home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, and maintaining it from a distance became difficult. My children had already started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need, even considering renting out the place. When I brought up the idea of returning, they hesitated. Are you sure you can manage on your own? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you. And then there was the physical decline. After months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk very far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. The independence I once had started slipping away, making the idea of moving back home more difficult than I ever imagined. I wasn't as confident in my ability to live alone, and that fear kept me stuck. I met others who had the same experience. They thought they'd try the nursing home for a little while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as easy as they thought. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely once their home was sold or their savings were drained by the cost of care. There was no going back. That's the part nobody tells you.
Moving in feels like a decision you can reverse, but for most people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your whole world, and before you know it, the outside life you once knew starts feeling like a distant memory. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, safety, and a better quality of life. What I found instead was a world that slowly took away my independence, my privacy, my purpose, and even my sense of self. Does this mean all nursing homes are bad? Not necessarily. Some people genuinely need the level of care they provide. But before you make that decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. Because once you move in, life will never be the same. If I could do it over, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home. I would have explored more ways to get help without giving up my freedom. And I would have made sure I truly needed to be here before making such a permanent move. And if you're facing this decision, I hope you take the time to ask yourself, is this truly what's best for me? Or is it just what seems easiest right now? Because the life you have today, your routines, your independence, your choices, is worth holding on to for as long as you can. Thank you for joining me today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned from this video and how you plan to use it. Your thoughts are important to us. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.